And here's your host, Willie D.
What is up, everybody? This is the Now and Opinion Podcast. Now I'm your host, Willie D. Hope everybody out there is doing well. I am myself. Today, we have a special guest, and her name is Ella Ray Feingold. Say hello to everybody. Ella, how you doing?
Hello, everybody.
Now,
how you
for those who don't know, I've been following her on Instagram for a while, and she's a guitar player. And what really piqued my interest was I saw who some of the artists she played for, and she played on one of my favorite songs of all time, and it's "Leave the Door Open" by Bruno Mars. And can you tell me about that and what you contributed to that song, real quick?
Yeah, oddly enough, I think the first thing I did, which didn't make it, was some strings. And maybe some woodwind. No, I think it might have just been strings. When I got the song, believe it or not, I didn't know what the project was. I had just been talking to Bruno. Mm-hmm. And, he had a few things he wanted to send me after we had been talking for a while, just about gear and records and stuff like that. So when I got Leave the Door Open, I'd have to check my files, but I think it was like a MIDI piano, maybe glockenspiel, like not a lot. Mm-hmm. I remember there were no drums, because I remember when I heard the final song, I was like, oh, that's how the beat is. Okay. And yeah, he didn't tell me it was Silk Sonic. He didn't tell me it was, with Andy, with Anderson .Paak. Uh-huh. So at first, yeah, I did some strings, and that didn't work out because I needed, and I told him this, like I needed the full song, because when you're doing strings, you really need to get a sense of the dynamics and, most importantly, the vocal to know where to come in and out and weave and bob. So, and he even said himself, like, I kind of fucked Ella by not sending the thing. And then also I did guitar and sound effects, and I used my old Echoplex tape machine and did... it's sort of the sound of the song, the creaking door. Uh-huh. It's an old EP2 tape Echoplex, and I'm just doing a sound effect with it.
So we probably skipped over a lot of stuff, and people are like, how'd she just get in contact with Bruno Mars like that?
Oh, yeah, we can start there if you want.
Well, not to go into like your whole beginnings and everything, but...
No, whatever you want.
You're in the circles. You're in the circles. Like, you're a requested artist, right? Like
I need somebody,
call Ella. We need her to do this.
Yeah, for some things, for sure, absolutely.
How would you say that you made a name for yourself? Like, how does that happen to where you get to a point where people are handing your name to producers and record labels and saying, "Hey, we need her to, get on this album"?
Some people might not like the answer, but being a specialist in something, I say people might not like the answer because I think a lot of music teachers or music schools sort of try and instill this quality in a musician of like being a well-rounded musician, mm-hmm. right? You know what I mean? So obviously for a drummer, like, yes, you should know how to play with brushes. Yes, you should be able to make time feel amazing, but it's not those kinds of things that are just essential to the craft. Mm-hmm. But when they say, it's like, oh, well, you should be able to play Brazilian guitar, and you should be able to shred, and you should be able to play R&B, and you should be, to do all these things. That never worked for me because it was like jack of all trades, master of some. You know what I mean? Yeah, so not being a well-rounded musician and being a specialist in something is what helped me and made me work. My buddy Charlie Hunter always says, he compares it to like either being a mile wide and an inch deep, which is, knowing everything, or being a mile deep and an inch wide.
Now, speaking of Charlie, he's played on a lot of stuff too, right? He's a specialist.
And he's a specialist, he's killing on drums. A lot of people don't know that. He's killing on regular guitar. And then, of course, his hybrid.
Well, I'll say this: most people of your caliber, when you get to that point, you can kind of play almost anything. I know a few guys who can, they're. If you saw them play one thing, you would think that's all they played, and then they could jump on something else, and you're like, "Oh, I thought you just played this, but you can play that just as good as you play this."
Yeah, somewhat. I mean,
Strings,
yeah,
piano.
well, because I'm also an orchestrator, but I don't want to say like I'm very limited, but maybe I'll say I'm a lot more comfortable in certain areas of music. Um, like I think the commonality for me is I can make anything feel good, but I don't necessarily love soloing or, just certain kind of like, God, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. Like, as much as I love Black American music and gospel music, as in Mighty Clouds and Cantons and Pilgrim Jubilees, when it comes to the real chopped up, gospel chop, like just it turns into fusion, like it just doesn't speak to me because it feels like there's a machismo, I've got something to prove musician thing. So I can play that, but I don't love that. I'd rather just play a drive. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. The fact that you said that, because I'm in the South.
Yeah.
I grew up playing the drums in church.
Okay.
But like you were talking about with those old groups, and then you got people now, and I'm not going to say any names, but yeah, the musicians now, it seems like they purposely play chops. So they were like, nobody's going to figure out how to play this. It's not like they're getting people to want to feel the music as much as they want people to hear a performance. They don't want people to feel it as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I think about my mentor, Spanky Alford, who played with the Clouds and Cantons and gospel keynotes and D'Angelo and Raphael Sadiq and all that stuff. I mean, I think he's sort of known as like, well, unfortunately, he's actually not known in certain circles that of people that call themselves neo soul guitar players. And it's like Spank kind of was the cat, But what I'm trying to say, I'm being long-winded, is that like whatever Spanky did came from a place of soulfulness and connection and musical patience. And even though it might have sounded impressive, he wasn't trying to impress you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just think with a lot of stuff that I hear lately, that part is lost. Like they miss the soulfulness, They just go for, my guitar's not plugged in, but, Spanky would have no problem. He had no problem just taking his time, right? But now it's like when you hear these cats who just... and they're just trying to make everything just, I don't know, impressive. And it sort of loses the, let me tell you a story. Hear my life experience.
I think one of my favorite people to hear talk about things like that is Steve Lukather from
Sure.
He talked about playing on the Thriller album. He was like, well, Quincy would call him and say, hey man, get over here. We had Eddie Van Halen, one of the Van Halen guys, and he did all this stuff, but we need to take it down, man. We need to and he said he needed somebody just to come in and just hit a few notes in the right spots, and Steve was like perfect at doing that. Yeah,
well, I mean, that also goes into, he's a great example because he can play his ass off and shred and do all that stuff. That is impressive, but that man knows how to come in and hear a chord progression and go, okay, yeah, I got it. Let's go. And play two notes, like on PYT, some parts on PYT. And it's like, that's musical maturity, and I call it like musical generosity in the sense of being generous enough to allow the music to bloom and not make it about you, unless Quincy's like, Luke, I need you, right? Like really come out and shine, but just to be like knowing how much is enough and just like, okay, cool, I don't hear that a lot lately, but maybe it's just the product of like being on my phone and looking on TikTok and seeing certain things. And yeah, I just want to make it known. Like, I know sometimes people think, oh, the old heads that just play pocket, they say that just because they can't, they can't chop and do certain things. And it's not that, because there's some stuff you hear and like it's impressive and soulful at the same time, but their intention is that they're being authentic to who they are. And they're not trying to impress you. It just happens to be impressive, that kind of stuff I dig.
So, what would you say your specialty is? It's like, would you say that you're, in drummers' terms, you're like a pocket player?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say pocket and more of a studio musician than a touring musician. I mean, to be honest, I've probably done more touring than studio work in terms of my entire career. I mean, within the last, I don't know, some odd 5-6 years, it's definitely been more studio. But I would say, yeah, more of the studio musician.
What do you enjoy the most between the two?
Studio. I mean, it is nice to go out and get to meet new people and perform. I was just in Brazil with Erica Badu, and that was great. It was like 30,000 people a show, and it just felt good. It felt good to play with the fellas, and it felt good to just get up there. I mean, I don't hate touring. I have a hard time with the traveling part, not the performing part.
That's got to be tough. I'm 46, and I don't see how people.
Yeah, I'm 43.
Whew,
you don't look 46.
It's internal. It's in the joints.
Black don't crack and Asian don't raisin.
All of my age is in my joints. I got double arthritis, bunch of surgery. Yeah. Got arthritis in my hands. It hurts to play drums.
Oh shit! Sorry, you got that.
Is there any? I don't mean to like put you on the spot, but can you picked your guitar up? Can you play a little bit of what you played on "Leave the Door Open"?
Oh God, I don't even remember what I played on that. I literally haven't played that since the song.
Was it like?
I do know one of the things that I did for the sound effect, which I don't have. Unfortunately, I don't have my my Echoplex hooked up, but I'll give you a little kind of history lesson.
Okay.
So this was an effect that was first created by, have you ever heard of Dennis Coffey, the guitar player?
No.
So Dennis, you probably heard one of his songs called Scorpio, because it's a famous drum break.
I have heard it, yes.
With percussion break. But Dennis Coffey was a Motown funk brother, one of the studio musicians. Dennis was the first one to bring effect pedals into Motown. Okay. So when you hear the Temptations stuff like Cloud 9 and the Undisputed Truth and Smiling Faces, when you hear the fuzz tones and the delays and the wah-wah pedal, that's either going to be Dennis Coffey or Wah-Wah Watson. So Dennis sort of did it first. I think he might have done it on the Dramatic song In the Rain. And then Wah Wah Watson, did it a ton with Herbie. But basically what you're doing is you're just going like high up on the neck on your high E string. You're muting the strings so that it's completely silent. You're going to a delay pedal so it repeats, and then you're just working your hand down. And then I'm trying to recreate the delay by going.
I hear it. I've never seen it done. I didn't know.
Yeah, even on like Devil's Pie. It's on that too. So I think of that effect in a bunch of different ways. I mean, what was genius about Leave the Door Open is, it was used in kind of like the door opening, a door, creaking open. But
I just heard it.
And by the way, I didn't know the song was called Leave the Door Open. So,
Really?
That's their genius of placing my guitar effects around in the song to make it make sense. But that effect is great because it sets up anticipation, like you don't know what's going to happen. It's almost like, a low tom rumble or something, like something's about to happen.
Yeah.
You're building something up. It's like bubbling. So yeah, it's a great effect. So I didn't create it, but I knew how to do it authentically, and I think it works really nice in the song.
So when you get a song, like say for instance, I'm just using "Leave the Door Open" because it was very popular.
The one I'm probably on the most is "After Last Night" with Thundercat.
Oh, really?
This is the same album. Yeah, Bootsy Collins is on it. But we can talk about whatever. Yeah, we can talk about any song you want.
My phone rang. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. Can I drink coffee on this thing?
Go ahead. Just don't spill it on your stuff. Hey, what was I going to say? I'll edit this. What was I going to ask you? Oh, studio work. So I've heard that a lot of times bands will form, and then when they get to a certain level, they're ready to go record in the studio, but the band doesn't make it into the studio because they're not good enough. Have you ever taken somebody's part? You know where I'm going, and made it better, but they're still with the band?
Yeah, I have sometimes knowingly, like it was asked for. Sometimes unknowingly. You can usually tell when that's going to happen. Like if a producer. Well, let me zoom out for a second. There's kind of two ways you can approach playing on a record, which is asking, "Hey, what are you looking for here?" Or saying nothing and doing what you hear. Depending on who I work for, sometimes I'll ask, what before I get started, what do you need? And they'll be like, give me a track of chords, give me a track of licks, because usually when I work with someone for the first time, I kind of just want to get a sense. Because some producers, they want the part from beginning to end, which is how I prefer to work because you're playing with intention.
Right.
Some producers that are kind of more like beat makers just want a whole Lego toolkit of stuff that they'll, make loops. So when a producer's like, "Hey, can you replay the guitar part?" Unless it's a sample that they just need replayed, I can always tell that, like, yeah, I'm replacing whoever
right.
was on it. But what I do want to say, and to be perfectly honest, like even Bruno wanted me to replace some of his parts.
Some of his
own parts.
Well, that's self-awareness. That's good. That's a good thing.
It's self-awareness because it's, first of all, he wrote the part.
Right.
Or whomever wrote the part. So I just want to say, like, for me, a lot of us might have imposter syndrome or that we think we're not good enough, regardless of how technical you are. To me, the person who writes the part, I hold them like that. You're king or queen, I hold them in such high regard, because anyone can come in and be killing, but okay, write a part. Write the drum fill to the intro of Billie Jean or I Rock With You or something. You know what I mean? So anyways, I think for a tune or two, it was just like he liked his part, but maybe he wanted my feel on it, or certain. And there were times, and that's why it's a little, to be perfectly honest, it's why it's a little tricky with the Silk Sonic album in particular, because sometimes I can't tell, like I'm credited on the song, but I can't tell if that's me and Bruno at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, it absolutely happens where you replace stuff for sure. Yeah.
Now you've worked with D'Angelo as well?
I've never worked with D. I met him.
Okay.
I met him years ago. He heard me play. He was really, really gave me a nice compliment. No, I never worked with him. That's a dream, that's a dream gig. Obviously I'm friends with Sharky and I'm good friends with Jesse Johnson, his other, and very close with Pino. And I was close with Amir Questlove and friends with the whole damn band. They called me once to sub for D'Angelo around 2010. And I don't remember why it didn't work out. I mean, yeah, that'd be a dream gig, but I think they're in pretty damn good hands with Sharkey and Jesse Johnson. So yeah.
Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
What's she like as far as did you work on an album or just a tour?
I was in her band for about 8 years and I sort of rejoined recently. And I've done some recording with her, some stuff that hasn't come out yet. But the majority of the stuff has been her touring guitar player.
Is there any particular artist that do you have a bucket list to work with?
D'Angelo and Sade. And what's funny is I'm friends with these people. I don't mean I'm friendly. Sorry, I mean the people that are in the band. Right, I'm friendly with Stuart Matthewman, and Stuart is literally in Sade. I mean, he's the member. Has written all of those tunes, co-written those songs, and played those amazing parts with Sade and with the Maxwell Urban Hang Suite and stuff like that. Like, we're friendly, we talk, and I told him, I'm like, man, that's like bucket list. And if I can talk about him for a second, he's a perfect example of like my kind of ideal guitar player, because the parts that he's written on all those Sade records and Maxwell, like that's the stuff that reaches me and hits me in the chest. That kind of stuff, parts that feel good and that are tasteful, because it's sort of like a missing piece to a puzzle, and it just gets perfectly placed and completes the puzzle. That impresses, I shouldn't say impresses, but that reaches me and moves me way deeper than just trying to, impress someone with so shout out to Stuart Matthewman.
Well, I'll put a drummer's name out there because I'm not famous and nobody's calling me to do
Neither am I.
A gig, but I get more enjoyment watching Steve Jordan play versus watching somebody like Eric Moore. I don't know if you've heard of Eric Moore, but like it's fun to watch for a second, but after a while I'm just like, okay, I'm done. But I can watch Steve Jordan play, and I noticed that John Mayer has liked a lot of your. That's
my buddy.
Is he?
We're I don't know. We're guitar friends.
Well, it's like you said, because he's worked with Pino.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
John Mayer Trio.
Pino, audience. Pino is a bass player. He's played on some of everything. Very notably in the R&B community, a lot of D'Angelo stuff, right?
Yeah, D'Angelo Voodoo and Black Messiah and all the stuff from the 80s with Paul Young. Yeah, legend.
Have you met John?
I was actually supposed to go to his studio on Monday. Yeah.
I can't talk about it?
I mean, there's nothing really to say. He invited me to the studio on this past Monday. My voice doesn't normally sound like this. It's a little like raspy. I've been sick. I got sick on tour, so I wasn't able to make it. But I mean, John's a master craftsman, like knows how to pick the right musicians for his project. And it's cool being, sort of guitar friends with him, because I have a profound admiration and respect for anyone that's a craftsperson, in the sense of like putting in their time into the craft and refining it and coming back to it. And, so I admire people like him and Pino and, all of these musicians that I look up to.
Yeah.
That I'm lucky to say I'm friendly with, and we can, and when we talk, it's not, it's funny because people have noticed that, that John follows me, or we follow each other, people, you talk about like strings and picks and stuff. I was like, no, man, like we just, life and more just philosophical things about music and the instrument. And, Yeah, it's not about gear, and because it's really your life experience at the end of the day.
Because that's what comes out of the instrument is a lot of your life experience, how you grew up, things you've encountered over time,
Yeah.
your sensibilities and everything. Speaking of growing up, when would you say you started playing guitar?
I got a guitar in 1992. I know that for a fact because my step grandma sent me a receipt of when they bought me the guitar. I mean, I've always been enamored by music, but yeah, 92 is when I got a guitar and started to kind of just tinker and make my way around with it.
Well, back at let's say 1990, who are you looking at and saying, you know what, I want to play like that. I want to be like that person.
As
Influence.
cliche as it sounds, probably Jimi Hendrix. But it's weird, because I was a grunge girl. I grew up when Nevermind, Nirvana Nevermind dropped, and Sonic Youth, and I mean that was the music of my time in predominantly white upper middle class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, my dad raised me on Black American music, so definitely different styles of music. What was cool was that music was sort of like a lullaby to me. It was always in my bloodstream. I never played it. I never tried to play it, but it was just sort of in me. And after, grunge era kind of died out, it was just where I went to naturally because that felt, like home. And it was cool because my dad, he's not a musician.
Oh, really?
No, he's not a musician, but he would talk to me like, about the Four Tops and the Spinners and Felipe Wynn and all this stuff. And he knew all the he came in and replaced so-and-so and this, and, and he went to, just all those concerts back in the day. So, I mean, it was cool. It's funny because he's not a musician, but I feel like he influenced me so much as a musician,
Speaking of the Spinners, I'll be around is that.
You know what's funny about that song is that everyone thinks it goes. Hold on.
That's her ear. She's hearing that she's out of tune.
So everyone thinks that it goes right, like the melody, Yeah. But the guitar part actually goes.
Okay, yeah.
Because the melody's buried in the chord.
So who plays?
And to give studio musicians their due, I believe that is Roland Chambers and I think Norman Harris on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Philly Soul, it was basically Roland Chambers, Norman Harris. Coincidentally, there was a guy named Dennis Harris, who I'm told was not related to Norman Harris. People thought they were like cousins or something. And then there was one white boy, a guy named T.J. Lindgren. Not T.J. Lindgren, Bobby Eli.
Now, this information that you know now, like who's playing all this stuff. Is this stuff that you're researching, or you're just learning along the way as you're like talking to different people, or you?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, I love records, so I buy records. So a lot of it is just flipping over the Dramatic album, Dramatics, and just seeing who's on it, and then just kind of noticing, I keep seeing the name Ray Parker Jr. or Phil Upchurch, or you know what I'm saying? Like you make a note of things. I was also lucky enough to like study with Wah Wah Watson and Phil Upchurch and go on tour with the Funk Brothers. Really? So a lot of this is just like lived experience of knowing these, musicians and stuff like that.
I can imagine.
But definitely some conscious study of wanting to know.
Now, being that you're younger than me, and you're
Yeah.
around these legends.
Mhm.
Did you get a lot of what you know about this? What you know about this?
Yeah, I mean, especially being white too. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, I sought that stuff out because that's my Jimi Hendrix or my Eddie Van Halen or whoever your hero is. I mean, those guys, the the people performing the thankless task of creating those parts and that feel and that sound and that becoming home for someone in their heart, musically speaking, but they don't know who's on those records or whatever. I just I love musicians like that. Those are my I feel like those are like my aunts and uncles and stuff like that.
And I feel like in a casual conversation with another musician, if you hear them mention one of those names, you just light up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. They all just had like a sonic thumbprint to them, just the way you might hear somebody play drums, and you're just like, I know who's on drums just by the snare drum.
Yeah.
I know who that is. You know, you just know they had a sound. You know.
Well, I think we've talked enough actual like music. Do you
Sure.
mind getting into a little bit of personal stuff?
No, I don't mind at all. No, that's cool.
Because you don't shy away from it.
No, I don't. No, not at all.
You weren't born Ella Ray Feingold.
I wasn't. No.
Okay. Can you talk about that just a little bit? Well, not a little bit, but because I want to, based on the podcast I released last week that had a lot to do with the election, I just kind of want to circle back and bring some of this in. But can you tell us, who were you born as?
I mean, I don't like saying my dead name if that's what you're asking, but I'm a transgender woman.
There you go. Leave it right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always been Ella Ray Feingold.
Mm-hmm.
My mom named me, but I wasn't born, with that name. And yeah, I'm a trans woman. And well, what can I say? I mean, I've always been who I am, but I physically transitioned, like coming up on 4 years now. Still getting my vibe and my feel together, but I think I'm doing pretty damn good.
Yeah, you are.
And thank you. And I'll say this, and I'm going to say this very carefully so I don't get canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comparing my life to anyone else's and anyone else's oppression. But right now, for trans people, this is our civil rights era. Not comparing it to, African Americans and saying one trauma is more, important. Right. I'm just saying that it's a different decade. It's the same hate. Mm-hmm. And so we're fighting. Maybe it seems like a smaller fight, but it's our fight because, they don't want us to exist. They don't want us to play sports. They don't want us to use the bathroom. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing for the water fountain, but there is for the bathroom, and they don't want us to have access to life-saving hormones. They don't want us to exist. And so what they want to do is, because they know that they can't literally kill us, they just want to kill our spirit, so wow. I just feel like it's important to talk about it. I feel like it's important to be visible for other people that are like me. If I'm being honest, I think being trans is the least interesting thing about me. Mm-hmm. But, it's an important time now to be visible and talk about it. And I would love one day if it was just whatever, like it wasn't a
subject. It was just
kind of like, oh, this is my friend, they're black. Like,
yeah,
same thing. So, you say that, oh, well, they're trans. Oh, they're trans. Well, what do you, or like there's a reaction. Mm-hmm, what I'm saying? Maybe a better analogy is with gay people. Like, oh, yeah, this is my friend Bill. He's gay. Okay. Oh, it's his husband. Okay. They have a kid. Okay, cool, man. Like, hi. But you do that with trans people now, it's polarizing, and they have preconceived notions of what trans people look like and who they are. And so we just have to be visible and normalize these things. And I just happened to occupy it in a space of being like the juicy, funky girl next door, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Now, during during the process where you were during the transition, were you facing any opposition in the music industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, for sure. I had an experience where I was working in Nashville as an orchestrator.
Imagine that, Nashville.
Yeah, imagine that, conservative Christian white boys. Um, and I was working there as an orchestrator, had been working there for years, as in coming in, and working or remotely, attending the sessions on Zoom. And there was a conductor there that I had the respect and admiration from always. I know he looked up to me. He'd call me and ask me questions. There was even a piece of music that I wrote on the piano that he loved so much, he asked if it would be okay if he could orchestrate it. As soon as I transitioned, he told me that, it's a problem for him and he thinks it's incredibly drastic. And I'll never forget, he said, but as a devout follower of Christ, I'm taught to love people no matter what condition they're in. And then it led to him just not acknowledging me and refusing to call me my name. So he wouldn't even call me Ella. He just told me he was very uncomfortable calling me my name. So yeah, I've definitely faced it for sure in music.
And the thing about it is, it seemed like for a moment, like we had this glimpse of hope that things were somewhat starting to change just a little bit. Maybe the tide was turning, and then all of a sudden it was like, bam, we just got punched in the face. All of us just got punched back in the face recently.
Yeah.
Because I was talking about, the presidency and everything, and how they don't want anybody to succeed that doesn't look like them. And it's just weird and messed up the way that's going. But to bring it full circle. That's what I was interested in, as far as if you had how that works and it affects you now. But I'm pretty sure now, like, any pushback now. Because I know you're not just going up and say, hey, like you were talking about with the friend thing. Hey.
Well, no, I mean, it's kind of hard to answer. Yes, there's been absolute things directly to my face, like that experience. You can always tell when someone's uncomfortable or something, but I guess what I would say is there's a lot of things that I just don't know, that there might have been opportunities that I could have been called for, and I will never know. And I guess really it's not any of my business.
That's true.
Kind of like when they say it's not my business what you think of me.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know behind closed doors, which doors closed silently. I would say, most people that I'm working with lately, actually, I never really thought about it, like how many of those relationships are pre-transition and how many are post. But I know a lot of them are post-transition, just meeting me for the first time,
right.
And those experiences on the whole have been cool. I do think that there's a lot of admiration and just kind of like, good on you, I think while I may terrify some people, because let's be honest, they're either attracted to me and they don't know what it means about themselves. They're mad that I'm coloring outside the lines and smashing whatever expectations were placed upon me. I mean, there's a lot of reasons people hate people that are, different from them. But in general, I'd say there's just a lot of admiration where people are comfortable around me and vulnerable because they know how comfortable I am being myself, that it disarms them to be whoever they are,
I get it, yeah.
And that's a beautiful feeling. And I can tell when someone's just at ease and relaxed.
Good.
So,
well, Do you have any? What are you working on now as far as future projects?
What am I working on now? Well, done some fun stuff lately. Did some stuff with Bootsy Collins. Did this song called Pastor P that came out with Fred Wesley.
Does he actually talk like that?
That's a good question. On the phone, no, he doesn't really talk like that.
It's a character.
It's a character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's still him. Like, I mean, his emails to me are hilarious. It's as if he's talking like Bootsy in the email. On the phone, no, I'd say he's a little more mellow.
Yeah.
But some stuff with him. We just did a remake of One Nation Under a Groove, and that was kind of a really cool pairing. It was me, Bootsy, George Clinton, Zapp, and the Williams Singers. Yeah. Yeah, crazy. Might as well have gotten the Mighty Clouds on there.
Yeah, it's the Williams.
Yeah. So that was cool. Did some stuff with Mono Neon. Did some stuff with this guy Cartoons, who's really dope. Me and Charlie Hunter are going into the studio to do a record together in January.
That was my next question. Do you write?
Yeah.
Do you write?
Yeah. I do write. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have made more of a career helping other people with their music than my own. But yeah, I do write a little bit.
And what is this album going to sound like? Does it remind me of anything? Remind you of anything? Is it a certain genre?
Well, we haven't started recording yet, but I mean, I would say kind of like a mix of Bohannon, Timmy Thomas, Sly's There's a Riot Going On, like Funk Box, and just two musicians that value rhythm.
Yeah.
Just kind of groove. Like if you know the song Thank You for Talking to Me, Africa, off There's a Riot Going On, that kind of, yeah.
So are you guys, are you both just trading licks across like the internet right now, or ideas, or you just going to
we have, yeah. No, but we're going to be in the studio together recording.
See, and that's another question about the studio process. Sometimes people go in the studios with nothing, right? And then you just create it there.
Sometimes, I mean, I'd say most of the stuff, 90% of the stuff that I'm playing on when it gets sent to me is already, well, it depends. I mean, it's either a fully fleshed out song or it isn't, and then they're offering publishing. Like what was something I did recently that was a little different? Like Wolfpack.
Love them.
So this was Wolfman, Jack Stratton, the guy, and Nate Smith was on drums, and he's just sickening. Joe Dart on bass, yeah. And so he sent me. It was like a drum and a bass loop, and I'm pretty sure there was vocals on it. Yeah,
was it Antoine's?
No, it was Evangeline, this girl singing. The song's out now. But there was no harmonic stuff on it. There was no guitar. There was no, so I'd have to be like, do I want to make that C major 9 or a C dominant 7? There was stuff left to interpretation, and so that in that case, like I was, writing in addition to writing guitar parts and was compensated, Jack's amazing,
he seems different the way, I don't know how he is in person, but his videos, he's is that him?
I don't know him well enough, but no, I honestly can't say either way, but I can tell you working with him, one of the best working, Ella, this is what I'm looking for. After you give me that, whatever you want, what's your rate? This is what I offer you, and this and that, and here, and I want to offer you this, and just what's your PayPal? I mean, just, a professional musician treating another professional musician with the same respect and admiration. I mean, it was so easy working with him. If I can say to producers out there, like, man, treat your musicians well, because that made me like I'm like, Jack, what do you need? When do you need? You know, I mean, because he just took care of everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it just makes you want to work so hard for someone like that. I'll work hard for anyone because if I agree to do something, then I'm going to do my best, you know. But yeah, it's nice when it's like, oh, he gets it. Yeah, he's a musician. He knows what it's like to be hired for something,
and he plays a lot of things. The dude is talented.
And yeah, and he knows what he wants, and he's also open to ideas. What was funny is that his reference, you know, and this is a perfect example of working for someone for the first time and being like, what are you looking for? And he's like, I have a reference. I'm like, okay, cool. What? And he sends me a video of me playing. I'm like, oh, you want me to do me? But he wasn't being cute, right, you know, like, right. You know, he was like, no, I like what you did in this video. So I was like, I got you. Okay, cool. We're good. Nice. You know? It was the first time I ever happened to be a reference. Like I was the reference.
Did you get a chance to work with, because I love Wolfpack, Joe Dart.
Yeah, Joe played on that song. He played bass on that song, but I've never met him in person. Would love to, but yeah.
I might have the most fun watching him play the bass.
Yeah.
You know, doing the thing with his head.
Yeah.
But I'm not a bass player. That's the only other instrument I want to learn how to play is the bass. I got one hanging on my wall, but I don't pick it up.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the drummers and the bass lock in when they want to, you know, when it's a groove. Now, do guitar players have that same connection with somebody? Is it the drummer, the bass player, the keys, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I do with drums.
There you go.
I feel like but it's also contextual because if you play something, I'm going to find something to lock into, but it'll depend. Sometimes it might be your kick drum. Sometimes I'm just listening to your ghost notes. Okay, cool. I'm going to play off of that or something. But yeah, again, it depends. Like when I'm playing with Erica, sometimes I'm just latching on to the Rhodes. You know what I mean? And just kind of being like stereo with the Rhodes and kind of playing something verbatim. You know, that gets into a whole another conversation of, you know, yeah, when do you double something? When do you fly in your own, you know, altitude and do your own thing? And, you know, but yeah, I listen to the drums all the time. I mean, you know, it might sound a little poetic or whatever, but I look at this as a pitched percussion instrument. I swear to God, I don't look at this as a guitar. I look at this as a drum. It just happens to have notes, and I play it like a drum. And I think drums, I think break beats and stuff like that when I hit it. I listen to break beats and drummers, you know, all the time. I love, you know, Earl Palmer and Idris Muhammad and Jabo and Clyde and you know, Gaylord Birch and you know, all the cats. I listen to those cats like, yeah, I'm listening to their hi-hat. Oh, he's hitting the hi-hat harder, you know, than the snare. Okay, that's his signatures. He, you know, like Gregorico from Sly. Like, okay, he leans into the hi-hat more than most people do, or, you know. Yeah, I love that shit.
See, this is stuff I like listening. I like hearing about is like the inner workings of how your brain works with the song, how you approach it, and all that stuff. That's what I like to hear about. Have you ever clashed on stage, say on stage, and maybe you stepped on somebody's little part or something, or somebody stepped on yours? Does that ever happen, or are the concerts so timed and put together that that doesn't happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say in general, things are somewhat worked out, so that doesn't happen. I have definitely worked with very famous musicians that have actually stepped all over my shit. and I can say that not in a like, yeah, but they're famous and you're not, so they're just going to do what they do. Like, no, they weren't listening well and respecting the music. And I'm not going to name names, but
right.
Just fully just overplaying and just doing too much. And in that case, you know, that's why I talk about like musical generosity of giving space. So I'll lay out, or just, I just go
You got it,
further in
man.
the cut.
You got it.
Yeah. There's a funny story. There's one story I can tell, and there's no disrespect because I love this guy, but this was a friendly way of it. I used to be on the road with Thundercat,
Okay.
because Thundercat played bass for Erica.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, me, Chris, Dave, Thundercat, that was the rhythm section for Erica. I remember one time we were playing North Sea, and again, this is no disrespect to Cat because I love Cat and he is, phenomenal and an artist. But he loved to go up into my register and play chords.
He played chords a lot, yeah.
And it wasn't like an anger thing, but he would do that, and I got myself a Digitech whammy pedal. I was like, okay, cool. I'll start playing bass. So when he would do that, I would kick on the 2 octaves down setting. And somewhere on the internet, we were playing North Sea Jazz Festival.
That's hilarious.
And she has this tune called Soldier.
Uh-huh.
And it's these kind of, I think they're like Mellotron flutes or something, but I would play guitar chords. And he would start chording up high. So I put that fucking pedal down 2 octaves. Boom, 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 boom. And Erica during the show goes, God damn, bass player, play that shit. And she looked and turned back, and Kat was up here playing chords, and it was me playing the bass line. And that warmed my heart. Like, nah, bitch, that's me playing bass.
Did y'all have
but that was like just. That was just kind of fun, like that didn't bother me. It was just kind of more like, okay, you want to go up there, I'm gonna go down here. Like we'll reverse the roles. It wasn't like a disrespectful thing. It was just like, okay, cool, this is different. I'm with it, and I love Cat. So that was like a fun kind of respectful, like, yeah, that's the way the man plays.
That family is so talented. Ronald and
yeah,
and then there's another one that plays with the internet, I think, right?
I think his youngest brother. Yeah, I mean, when I was working with Thundercat way back then, I mean, his youngest. I mean, he was like, in elementary school at the time or something. But this was like 15 years ago. So
I figured Thundercat was like in his early 30s, maybe. I don't know how old he is. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm just talking about his youngest brother. It was like very, very young back then.
Oh. Chris Dave.
Yeah.
The king, one of the kings of pocket drumming, and just like throwing an off-time beat, an off-time cymbal that's not on the one, but it works because that's him. What's he like as a just to work with as a drummer? Because you had to lock in with him too.
I did, yeah. I mean, a rhythm section of Thundercat and Chris Dave, who are both artists, in their own right. I played real simple and real in the cut and just pocket and parts, because I'm not going to try and compete with that, because I naturally play with a lot of nuance, dynamics, and ghost notes.
Yeah.
And Chris is like ghost note on top of ghost note. So for me to try and play off of that, like I would just do real big moment, just real. I changed the way I played, and I don't typically do that with musicians, but I listen, and so I just changed the way that I played. I'm trying to like think if I could like demonstrate it, but.
It
like if you were to play some James Brown shit that was like really ghost noted, like really syncopated.
Yeah.
With them, I might just go. You know what I mean? As opposed to.
And
I'm
that's
taking out all the I shouldn't say syncopated.
ghost notes.
Taking out all the ghost note information and
Because
kind of
he's
more
doing it.
cameo, just more like straight as opposed to, a little bit swung and all that shit. Yeah.
And audience, that's because she, like she said, she listens. She's listening to what the other people are doing, and as she mentioned before, she's given grace and space.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that Miles thing. I'm sure. I mean, thank you for saying that. I'm sure Miles said it in a much more eloquent way, but kind of like, we'll play halftime if they're playing double time when you solo. Just that kind of contrast. That's what the word is. Contrast. To just contrast what they're doing. I don't need to add more ghost notes and busyness and syncopation and detail onto something that's already very highly detailed. I need something that drives like a train straight through what they're doing. Now, if somebody played more straight and just sort of bigger moments, then I'd be all in between it. You know what I mean?
Just plugging gaps, but not doing so much.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, who's playing the guitar? But it's like a felt thing where you're like, oh, that's funky right there. Who's
kind of. Yeah. Like almost like one of the second James Brown drummers. If somebody's playing something straight and they're just listening, like, okay, and just, or like the Kabasa part on The Big Payback or something, like that kind of thing of just, because that grooves boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. But that, it's just got that thing in between. So that's kind of how I look at guitar. Is just, what are you doing? Are you kind of with the drums and the bass, or are you? Yeah.
So you just taught me something. There were I always saw two drummers like in the old James Brown things, or two drum sets, but I never paid attention to maybe but one. There was a guy probably just playing hi-hats or something.
I think I think the reason they were really there was just simply stamina. Just of having a long show and just, hey man, here's the baton, please take over, I'm burning up. I think that was the original intention. But if you watch 1973, the Soul Train James Brown stuff, I don't know if it's Melvin Parker. I can't remember who the second drummer was. It was Jabo and somebody else. He might just be playing hi-hat. I'm sorry, tambourine, sitting down.
Okay.
Playing a little hi-hat, a little tambourine. Very, backseat role. But honestly, even in James Brown's music, it's like that too with guitar, because like trying to think, let me just grab a guitar pick. Like every era had like different players, but some of that stuff was real like backseat, like it's like man, is it a Marva Whitney tune? So that's like, you could conceive that as one guitar part. It's two parts. One part is just going. Second guitar part goes. One. One. While the other part is, one. They're just these little, you know what I mean? These little, just like on Doing It to Death, how one part's, that's the part you notice. The part you feel but don't notice is
didn't know they separated. separated it.
You don't hear it.
No.
But it's like those are like the ghost notes to the main thing. And so the second drummer is kind of like that sometimes too. It's ghost notes.
Well, I had
it's not literally, but you know, it kind of acts like that.
There
like a bonding agent or something.
Yeah, there is somebody with a page on social media. I didn't see his name. I don't know if it's that guy Luxury.
Oh yeah, they break down multi-track masters and stuff like that.
And I think they were doing an Earth, Wind, and Fire song, and they were like, "Well, this guitar is only doing," and a lot of people think he's like you were saying, and then he soloed the parts, and I was like, "Oh," and it came all together like it sounded like one part. There's something new every day. Well, Ella, I
will tell you one thing that's interesting.
What's that?
Just because just reminded me on Payback, the drums are just it's just there's no boom. It's just I believe it. Wait, it's either everyone thinks it's bum 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 bum, and it's either the bass or the kick drum doing it, but they're not both doing it. And I'm trying to remember. One of them is giving the ghost notes.
I think it's the bass.
I think it's the bass. Yeah, I think the drum is just.
Yeah.
Flow on the flow.
I think it's the same.
But the bass is going bum 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 bum, but it makes it sound like the kick is going It's either that or vice versa, but they're not doing it together, and that's a lot in music where there's extra little information, but it's just coming from one random little upstroke on a guitar, or the Jamerson just going boom, but it sounds like the kick doing it. Wow, I live for that shit.
See, now you got the song playing in my head now. I'm sitting here listening to it in my head. Oh, but hey, this has been an hour.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I had it for 30 minutes.
All good.
I appreciate this so much. This
is fun.
Oh, this was cool. I'm going to ask for you to come back after you finish your project.
With Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay.
And can you tell the audience where to find you on social media?
Yeah. Well, let's see. My Instagram, which is like where I'm the most active, is Ella _Rae, RAE _Feingold, FEINGOLD. That's where I'm, kind of most active. Mm-hmm. I have a Patreon page where I teach music, and that is just Feingold Music. And, if you just type in Ella Feingold in Patreon, something will show up. So those are kind of the two main places. I do have a website, feingoldmusic.com. I haven't updated it in a long ass time, but a lot of stuff is up there as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, to the audience, please go pick up all these albums. Go listen to and even if it was Silk Sonic, she's on it. Is that your Grammy in the back? What's that in the back?
Yeah.
That's the Grammy in the back? Yeah. So, like I said, she is legit. She has a Grammy.
That shows up backwards or not.
It's fine. It's understood it's a Grammy. But I appreciate you coming on the podcast so much. So.
Yeah, thank you for thinking on me.
Yeah, absolutely. I follow your page, and I'm just sitting there grooving when you're playing, you're playing the parts from the Spinners, James Brown, and all that stuff. I'm like,
yeah. Hell yeah.
So much of a pocket. Well, everybody, this has been the 9-1 Opinion podcast. I've been your host, Willie D, with special guest Ella Feingold. Thank you guys for joining me. Till next time, we are out.